Good evening, everyone, members of the council. Today we're going to talk a little bit about fire codes and building codes, fire prevention, and what the district does in terms of implementing those codes through a number of different ways. So my career field is fire suppression. I'm in the fire department, but our fire department also has a host of other responsibilities to the community that also have to do with prevention, right? Because suppression is very much reactionary, right? A fire occurs, an emergency occurs, an EMS incident happens, and then we respond to it. So in terms of fire codes and building codes within our realm, we can be on the prevention side of things, right? So we can go into buildings, we can enforce pre-existing codes, we can make buildings safer, we can use engineering mechanisms to make buildings safer through, a vast array of construction materials, signage, and a number of other things. So before we get to that, let's talk about fire codes and building codes. So fire codes within structures are primarily talking about the safety points that would occur in the event of an emergency, or in this case, a fire, right? So where our exit signs are located, the panic hardware that we have on doors, the limits of occupancy, so how many occupants or how many customers or how many residents we can have in any given structure, and that just has to do with their egress and them getting out safely. If a building is overcrowded, an event happens, an emergency happens, people tend to panic. Building codes, we tend to use building codes in terms of construction materials, right? Construction materials over the past 100 years have changed a lot. In a lot of ways, they can be a lot more dangerous. So unfortunately, in the event of a catastrophic event and a big fire is usually when we learn our lessons. So through those unfortunate events, we've learned certain building materials, construction, the way we make trusses, the gusset plates we use, things in construction that can provide for a better means of protection for occupants. So with that said, for the state of Washington, all our codes, our building codes and fire codes are all contained in the Washington State Administration Code, or WACS, chapter 51-54.alpha. So this deals with everything that we could potentially think of in an occupancy within Washington State, right? So we talk about sprinklers, we talk about exits, we talk about how exits are marked, we talked about different type of occupancy types, for congregations, residential, schools, nursing homes, especially those schools and nursing homes where we deal with people who can't self-rescue as easy due to advanced age or mental capacity, or younger minds just being a little bit confused about how to get out in the event of an emergency when all their classmates are panicking. So with that, currently Washington State uses the 2018 edition of International Fire Code, and that will be until October 29th of this year. And then after that year, we will switch to the International Fire Code to 2021 edition. This also deals with permits, right? So any type of gathering we have to have permits. It's not just in terms of collecting taxes, so the city can collect their money, but it also has to do with the fire department understanding about when those events are happening, like what's going to be there. Are there going to be some type of hazmat? Are there going to be fireworks? And giving those information to the fire department is helpful to us, because it understands if we have to respond, that we know what we're walking into. Additionally, we can pre-plan, and we can have an additional firefighter or two on scene to see as things progress, if anything happens, or to be there to assist in the event of anything does happen. They can kind of give a better picture of the scene in the event of an emergency. So currently, in terms of enforcement of fire codes and building codes, is all handled by the fire marshal's office, who ultimately works under Washington State Patrol. And part of the reason that is because fire departments currently don't have any type of citation authority, right? So Washington State Patrol owns that authority, and so that's handed down to the fire marshal's office in terms of any citations. Now, with that, we're not looking to give anyone citations, right? The fire marshal's office is looking to keep people safe. and also giving citations or taxing people some type of undue financial hardship. It just isn't within the views of community and creating an atmosphere of understanding and also commerce for our city, which is very important, right? So with that, we can also enforcement just isn't writing tickets, right? Enforcement comes in the realm of pre-plan reviews, right? So if we get a structure that is wanting to be built by a contracting company or what have you, the fire marshal's office can go through that plan and see where egress routes are, where exit routes are, where fire extinguishers are placed, and then they can also provide any type of details or support or advisory capacity in what should be done. All right, we can also do structural control, which also has to deal with going through those plans, looking at what type of building construction is being used, what type of construction materials are being used, and then that can also be done on the back end too before the structure is given its permit for occupancy to go through there and make any last minute changes. Because the thing is when an occupancy is open for business, whether again it's a residential, it's a healthcare facility, or some type of mercantile facility, once a citation is issued, that citation either has to be corrected or that business is going to bear a lot of fines, which doesn't bode well for anyone. So the fire marshal's office would like to avoid that by being able to make those on-the-spot corrections before an occupancy is open to the public. So that has to do with enforcement. We also provide some type of economic incentive that we can advise on in terms of getting sprinklers can reduce property taxes and also give insurance cuts. In addition to that structural improvement, which the fire marshal's office try to advise those things, not only to make it easier for contractors who are building, but also safer for the public. In addition to that, which we are able to provide at the fire marshal's office, we can also do that fire service certification, advise on fire sprinklers, preventive data collection, so collection over different structures, lessons learned, fire inspection plan and review, which we kind of spoke about, fireworks sale and display, which is also very important, and then mobilization resources. So that has to do with any type of emergency response, where resources can be found and how the fire marshal's office can provide those things in any type of emergency. And we also do with fire safe cigarettes, which is just dealing with the way that cigarettes are manufactured so they don't burn as readily on building materials. So that kind of covers, that's kind of an introductory to fire codes, building codes, and also what the fire marshal's office can provide. Any questions, I open it up to the floor. I thank you for your time.